I am tired of the gamers. I am tired of Asmongold opening his stupid trap. Let's get into it. Look, I was scrolling TikTok while working on my Star Wars Visions Volume 2 video, and I couldn't help but notice a common trend lately. Response videos to either bad faith reviews of or streamer reactions to the game South of Midnight. I'm already so enraptured in American Gothic literature. I mean, you know how I feel about Saga of the Swamp Thing. I just had to check out this game. Luckily, it's on Game Pass, so if you're not ready to drop some money on this game just yet and want to check it out, download it on Game Pass. Not a sponsor. I just like the service. There's been a lot of discourse around this game. You have a guy like Asmongold, who I'd rather not talk about in any video. But what he said is pretty indicative of the toxic gamers out there. I'm just gonna paraphrase because I don't feel like screen recording or visiting his channel whatsoever. Especially since he doesn't deserve it. But the basic gist is he says, if you're doing action combat game, you have a character who's a woman, she's gotta have big boobs. Yeah. This reminds me of the MJ Spider-Man 2 discourse, where everybody was raging that MJ wasn't feeding into their sexual fantasies about pixels on a screen. I'm tired. If it isn't already obvious, game designers don't have to cater your incel lifestyle. This weird need for all female characters to be hot and nothing else is really gross and just anti-art. I've actually been thinking about this a lot lately. Quinta Brunson, the showrunner, writer, and main actress of Abbott Elementary, talked about true representation in this podcast with Amy Poehler.
I'll be real with you, she's a black character. Black audiences have so few still representative characters on screen. Mm-hmm. And black womanhood alone is so touchy. So when a lot of women were seeing Janine not present as they wanted her to, that became tough. And I understand it, but I think it's important for us to have characters who are more realistic than they are the absolute best representation of us. I think it creates layers for us, not only on TV, but in the public eye.
This is something that's been touched on by many, many creatives throughout history. Especially someone that comes to mind is Dwayne McDuffie, who created Milestone Comics alongside other black creators. This goes back to a common complaint that conservative people tend to make when it comes to diverse stories. Make your own character, don't just steal the white one. Well, when they do make their own character, tell their own story, are you going to read it? Are you going to play it? Are you going to give it the time of day? Well, the reaction of South of Midnight, I feel like, says no. The reviews of South of Midnight focus on, oh, this isn't some revolutionary design game, but doesn't talk about the story whatsoever. Last night, after I was scrolling, since I had started the download for South of Midnight earlier, I quite literally played past midnight into 2 a.m. when I went to bed. Then I was awake at 8 a.m. for some reason. I was just restless. I knew I needed to make a video about this game, no matter how short it was. I will end up doing a much longer and in-depth video essay about this game down the line. I just felt a need to make this video now because the conversation around this game from people who look like me does not make me happy. Okay, let's lay out these criticisms and break it down. 1. The gameplay is lacking. I disagree with this fundamentally because not only is the combat loop really fun and interesting, reminiscent of playing Hellboy Web of Word, but possibly more Souls-like as I understand it. I think something fundamental about making combat in games interesting is making it easy to learn, hard to master. What I especially appreciate about the combat in this game is how it starts out simple, and both the abilities you possess and the monsters you face change. It's a really cool progression and makes playing the whole game feel very rewarding. I also gotta say the kind of limited open world vibe of the game is really fun. And the whole place feels alive, especially since parts of the world move in the background. Also, can I say how cool it is to have a game based in stop motion style animation? It lends South of Midnight to a particular texture and vibrance that only this team could achieve. Maybe this gameplay loop isn't your cup of tea, but you should give it a chance. And I should point out that there are plenty of crowd-pleasing AAA games in recent time that don't innovate in the gameplay, so I find it pretty two-faced to accuse this game of that and ignore the story potential. Like, Insomniac's Spider-Man is not innovating gaming. I love these games, but a large part of that is the story, and outside the swinging, which isn't so revolutionary because it had been done multiple times before, they just built on it. If you can afford Spider-Man this leeway, then give it to South of Midnight, which is an original idea. Now, I haven't played through all of South of Midnight by the time of writing this, but I can speak to what really works so far, and it's these characters. You have the main character, Hazel, who loses her mother and her house in a flood at the beginning of the game. Everything she does past this is motivated by her trying to find and save her mother after having a really bad fight with her before the storm. I think this is something that we can all relate to no matter what we look like. South of Midnight brings in so much culture and history, from the Creole and Gola folktales to the music of the South and even the dark past of America we'd rather hide. I'm going to keep playing, and I think you should too.
Trifling ass mudcat.